bei Duft den neuen Song aus dem Sägezahnzyklus und all diejenigen, die schon gegessen haben und ihre Weißlinge trinken, rumduckeln, sollten endlich mal ihre Nase bewegen und auch die Tanzfläche bewegen. Und nun geht es los.
You are listening to Däs Bündesliga Show on the Lock Betting Podcast. You can follow the Lock Betting Podcast on Twitter at LockBettingCom. That's at LockBettingCom. It's the same handle for TikTok. The Instagram is simply Lock Betting. The TikTok and the Instagram both give you great information. We are dropping 30 to 45 second videos, looking at key sports, looking at the key games in the key sports, particularly soccer, giving you some great data in short 30 to 45 second videos. So a great tool. Make sure you follow the TikTok, make sure you follow the Instagram, and make sure you follow us on Twitter, where we post the P&L every single month for lockbetting.com. We are about to post the month of January, which was the 116th month in a row of transparent track profit. Obviously, we've had some issues. We've not been able to post that P&L on Patreon. We've had to post it on Gumroad. Just waiting for all my guys to find that, to follow that site, like and comment the P&L, and then we will get it up on Twitter for everybody to see. If you are a current Lock Betting member, you already have the link, so you can go over to the Gumroad Lock Betting site and have a look at the P&L that did deliver the 116th month, propped up by our NFL futures. The rest of the month was semi-disappointing. We weren't really able to build on that too much, despite hitting a 1.5 unit future on the Kansas City Chiefs and hitting a 2 unit future on Novak Djokovic to win the Australian Open. But we look to move on and do better in the month of February. Sign up for the service to get the full package. We are currently delivering all of our picks on WhatsApp. So despite the fact we've had that glitch with Patreon, nobody is missing any picks, and we will be prepared for the Super Bowl this weekend. So moving on with this edition of Däs Bündesliga Show, we begin with the game here on Friday, as rock bottom of the league, Schalke will host Wolfsburg. Schalke are one of the worst teams to ever play in the Bundesliga, and they looked doomed to go down. However, they did deny us from cashing our lock last weekend. Somehow, they managed to hold Borussia Mönchengladbach to a 0-0 draw. Wolfsburg are the travellers to Schalke this weekend. They are the 10 to 11 favourites to pick up a win. It's 13 to 5 on the draw, and Schalke are the 11 to 4 dogs. I don't think Schalke can build on what they did last weekend, because they don't seem like they can score a goal. And if you can't score goals, you can't win football matches, and therefore Wolfsburg should be able to come here and take the points. Wolfsburg have lost their last 3 games, but they are still the 5th strongest travelling side in all of the Bundesliga. Schalke are winless across the last 5 head-to-head encounters, and they are just generally poor this season. Their 11-point total is Schalke's second worst Bundesliga return at this stage of the club's history. So I think this will be different to last week. Last week, they got a very good point. I think this week they'll try and push on and get something more from the game, and Wolfsburg will pick them off and they will leave with the points. I think there's value on the away selection here on Wolfsburg at a price of 10 to 11 minus 110 here in this one. Up next, we move across to Saturday, and we start with the game here between Bayern Munich and Bochum, where Bayern Munich are the 1 to 10 favourites to win this game. It's 9 to 1 here on the draw, and it's 18 to 1 here on Bochum. Bayern Munich should win this game and win this game comfortably. The only reason I'm not going to be looking at taking some kind of large handicap here would be, number one, because it's too short, and number two would be because this is a look-ahead spot for Bayern Munich, as it is for a lot of Champions League teams. Bayern Munich have PSG on deck, so I think they may eventually take their foot off the gas. I still think that we will see plenty of goals, though, in this game. I think Bayern Munich to win with over 3.5 goals at the price of even money plus 100 does offer up some pretty significant value. Bayern Munich themselves have kept just one clean sheet in the last 5 at home, and Bochum could contribute towards the scoring. However, I'd still expect Bayern Munich to win comfortably. I don't think they'll be looking to rack up the score, but I think they'll do enough to get us our 4 goals here. Bochum have conceded 5 goals in their last away game, and Bayern Munich have a strong history in home head-to-heads. So we are looking for a big win here. Bayern Munich have scored 3+ goals in 5 of the last 6 home head-to-heads. Bochum have conceded 7 goals across their last 2 away games now, and over 2.5 goals as individual players, landed in over half of Bayern Munich's league games this season, landing in 10 of the 19 games that they've played so far. So I will tack that over 3.5 goals onto the Bayern Munich moneyline play, and that gets you from, rather than taking the 3-4 on the over 3.5 or the 1-10 on Bayern Munich, you have an even money selection on Bayern Munich and over 3.5 goals. This is the best price, by the way. The selection is widely available at the price of 10-11 minus 110. I wouldn't take it at any shorter than that. Up next, we look at the game between Hoffenheim and Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen laid a massive egg last week. They now come into this off the back of back-to-back defeats and continue to be one of the most difficult and frustrating teams to read in all of Europe. They travel to Hoffenheim here, and so far this season, Hoffenheim's games have almost guaranteed goals, especially lately. Hoffenheim are the 9-5 underdogs here. It's 13-5 on the draw, and Bayer Leverkusen here are the 5-4 favourites. As I said, Hoffenheim's games have all but guaranteed goals, and that's why you have to take a little bit of juice here on their overs. Over 2.5 goals here is juiced at a price of 8-13. If you want to extract a little bit more value from it, you can add the both teams to score to it. That takes you from 8-13 to 10-11. Obviously, that's a lot more appealing, but you will need goals from both teams. And Bayer Leverkusen come into this one having not scored in their last 2. But that doesn't concern me because Bayer Leverkusen have too many good attacking players to continue that streak. So I look at it more as they're due a goal this week as opposed to being concerned that they haven't scored in the last 2 games. In this fixture, Bayer Leverkusen haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 3, with 5 of the last 6 head-to-head matches producing over 2.5 goals. Bayer Leverkusen have actually seen under 2.5 goals in 4 of their last 5, but that data is completely cancelled out by what Hoffenheim have done. Hoffenheim have had no clean sheets in their last 17, no wins in their last 6, and have seen both teams score in 10 of the last 10, and have seen over 2.5 goals scored in 10 of the last 10. So strong supporting data. Like the over, I think that's actually a decent price at 8-13. But we will tack on the both teams to score to this selection, and we'll get both teams to score with the over 2.5, and we'll take that at 10-11 minus 110 here for this game between Hoffenheim and Bayer Leverkusen. Up next, we look at the game featuring Werder Bremen and Borussia Dortmund. And if you remember earlier on in the season, this was our first lock loss on the Bundesliga show. We needed Dortmund and over 2.5 goals. Dortmund were 2-0 up. We celebrated the fact that Werder Bremen contributed their goal to the equation, and then Werder Bremen got an equaliser, and then Werder Bremen got a winner, all inside the last 5 minutes of the game. An absolutely shocking and sickening loss. Borussia Dortmund will be looking to avenge that one for us here. And they're emerging now as dark horses for the title. They're actually making a run at it, coupled by the fact that Bayern Munich started back from the World Cup break with 3 draws. They have allowed some teams to slip in through the cracks. And I like Borussia Dortmund to avenge that defeat and to carry on winning here. They have returned from the winter break with a bang. They've won all 5 of their games in all competitions. And I am backing them here simply to make it 6 in a row. Werder Bremen's last 4 home games in the Bundesliga have produced over 2.5 goals, so that could cash again, but I'm not going to bother tacking it on. I'm happy with Borussia Dortmund simply to get the win here, although there is data for goals here, not just for the over, but for both teams to score. Both teams have scored in 16 of the last 19 Bundesliga meetings between these two sides, and Borussia Dortmund have won with both teams scoring in 3 of the last 4 Bundesliga games. So you can take more risks, you can add goals here. I'm going to stick to the money line selection, as I think there is a little bit of value just taking Borussia Dortmund to carry on winning here, which I think they will do at a price of 3 to 4. Up next, we look at the late game on Saturday, and it's RB Leipzig at home to Union Berlin, where RB Leipzig are the 7 to 10 favourites. It's 13 to 5 on the draw, and it's 19 to 5 on Union Berlin. Union Berlin are just absolutely massively overperforming their metrics here. I don't think that they can continue to be second in the league. And because I think that, and because I ultimately think Leipzig and Dortmund will finish above them and Union Berlin will be clinging on for the top 4, I have to take Leipzig here in this spot. They should have enough quality to end Union's winning run. It may be by a narrow margin, but I think Leipzig will do enough to get the win. Leipzig have scored at least twice in 8 of the last 9 home games. And I do feel that if they are able to repeat that here, that should be enough for them to get the win. So a nice and simple selection here. Union Berlin have been overperforming. Leipzig are the better team. I think Leipzig will finish above Union Berlin in the table this season. And I'll take them to pick up the home win here at Leipzig. Leipzig is a fortress. Leipzig is the place where Leipzig pick up most of their points on their own turf. And I'll take them to pick up the win here again in this one. Closing out with your lock on the show. Lots of stuff I actually like on this edition of the Bundesliga show, but I can't really look past the data in the game between Hoffenheim and Bayer Leverkusen. Look, if it loses, it loses. We'll take it on the chin. But ultimately, you can't ignore the fact that both teams have scored in 10 of the last 10 games to feature Hoffenheim. Over 2.5 goals is cashed in 10 of the last 10 games to feature Hoffenheim. Now, I understand Leverkusen haven't scored for the last 2 games, but this is a goal-scoring team. This is an attacking team. They haven't performed over the last 2 weeks, but they have enough firepower here to at least contribute a single goal. I'm not concerned about a Leverkusen contribution. They're coming up here against the team who haven't kept a clean sheet in any of their last 17 games. So your lock for this edition of Däs Bündesliga Show is going to come from the game between Hoffenheim and Bayer Leverkusen. We take the over 2.5 goals with the both teams to score tacked on, and that comes up at the price of 10 to 11 minus 110. That's it for me. Good luck with all your bets as always, and thanks for listening.